The Hajj, as interpreted by Sunni Muslims, is made to the physical Kaaba in Makkah, which is revered as the house of God. However, there are four major Qur'anic facts about the establishment of the physical Kaaba as the house of God according to the Qur'an. Firstly, after successfully completing certain trials given by Allah, Abraham is appointed as the Imam of humankind, after which he pleads to Allah for this imamate to continue in his offspring. Allah accepts with the condition that an unjust person can never become an Imam. Surah 2, Ayah 124. Second, the Kaaba was purified by Abraham and Ismail as per Surah 2, Ayah 125 through 128, and again by Prophet Muhammad and Ali. Therefore, the purity, sanctity, and holiness of the Kaaba depends upon the purity, sanctity, and holiness of the Prophet Abraham, Prophet Muhammad, and the Imams of their progeny, who are the people of the house, al-Bayt, declared to be purified by God in Surah 33, Ayah 33. If the Kaaba is called Bayt Allah, house of God in the Qur'an, then the family of Muhammad are called al-Bayt, people of the house. Thirdly, the prophets and Imams are those who raise up the physical house of God by God's permission, as stated in Surah 2, Ayah 125 through 128 and 24:36. And fourth, the original Hajj in its Qur'anic origins is a pilgrimage to both the physical Kaaba and the Prophet of the time and his family. The Qur'an says to Abraham about the original Hajj that, "And proclaim the Hajj among mankind. They will come to you, Yatuka, on foot." Surah 22, Ayah 27. The physical Kaaba, the physical house of God, is not an immutable structure. It has been demolished, damaged, and rebuilt several times throughout history. The physical Kaaba is not inherently pure. It has been the site of idol worship for generations and only regained its purity due to the intervention of a prophet or Imam. Peter Webb, an academic scholar of Islamic studies and pre-Islamic Arabian history, says in a journal article, "The pre-Islamic Hajj nonetheless does emerge from the pre-Islamic poetry as a ritual resembling the Muslim-era pilgrimage in the general sense of its rites and locations. There was a central shrine dedicated to a single deity named Allah. Pilgrims circumambulated that shrine and then performed a number of rites at ritual sites outside of Mecca, notably camping at Mina and offering sacrifices. Thus, the Kaaba cannot be the house of God in the fullest sense because it is inanimate. It has been the site of idol worship until it was purified, and it suffers from both decay and corruption. The Prophet Muhammad, according to several Sunni hadiths, admitted that the physical Kaaba is not even built on the original pattern and foundations of Abraham, and that he would have demolished and rebuilt it had he not feared the reaction of the Quraysh, who were still attached to the customs of Jahiliyyah. A hadith in Sahih Bukhari, narrated by Aisha, says, "God's messenger said to me, were your people not close to the pre-Islamic period of ignorance, I would have demolished the Kaaba and would have rebuilt it on its original foundations laid by Abraham, and I would have built a back door too." In addition to the Kaaba, the exoteric or Zahiri house of God, there also exists an esoteric or Batini house of God, Bayt Allah. According to the Qur'an, everything in the physical world and the realm of the Sharia is an exoteric symbol for a spiritual counterpart or symbolic meaning, mamthul, in the spiritual world of the tariqah. This is the meaning of the pairs that God has created out of all things. The Qur'an says, "And of all things we have created in pairs, so that you may reflect." Surah 51, Ayah 49. Thus, the physical Kaaba has an esoteric or Batini counterpart, without which it possesses no true meaning and for whose sake the Kaaba itself is established. The true house of God must be a house which is living, speaking, intellectual, and conscious, whose essence remains free from decay and impurity. Unlike the realm of Zahir, which includes corruptible, inanimate objects, the realm of Batin consists of living realities, possessing the fullness of intellect and soul. Since the very status and existence of the physical house of God is derived from, connected to, and dependent upon the Prophet and Imam, it follows that the Imam of the time is the esoteric house of God and the living Kaaba. The Imam himself is the batini inner meaning, batin or ta'wil of the physical or zahiri Kaaba. In this sense, the Shi'i Imams have declared, "We are the Kaaba of God, Kaabatullah, exalted is He, and we are the Qibla of God, Qiblatullah. We are the sacred sanctuary of God, Haramullah." The Sufis of Sunni Islam, including Hazrat Jalaluddin Rumi, profess the very same teaching that the Prophet or Imam of the time is the living house of God and the spiritual Kaaba. Rumi himself writes that the physical Kaaba in Makkah is but a branch of the spiritual Kaaba, the Prophet and the friends of God. Hazrat Jalaluddin Rumi in his Fihi Ma Fihi writes, "The meaning of the Kaaba is the heart of the prophets and the friends of God, awliya, and the dwelling place of God's revelation. The physical Kaaba is a branch of that. If it were not for the heart of the prophets and the friends of God, what use would the Kaaba be? The prophets and friends of God who have totally abandoned their own desires and are following the desire of God. So whatever He commands, they do it." The proofs and arguments for the Imam of the time as the spiritual Kaaba and the living house of God are numerous. Firstly, the Qur'an mentions in the famous Ayat al-Nur that the lamp of God's light, Nur, is found in houses, buyut, which God has ordered to be exalted, and that His name is remembered therein, exalting Him in the morning and the evening. Holy Qur'an, Surah 24, Ayah 36. The Imam of the time is the locus of manifestation or mazhar of the light of God, and therefore the houses or buyut that contain the light mentioned in this verse refer to the Imams, not to physical houses. This is because only the souls of the prophets and the Imams are pure, like the glass of the lamp described in Ayat al-Nur, and this is why the Prophet himself is called both light in Surah 5 Ayah 15 and a light emanating lamp elsewhere in the Qur'an, Surah 33 Ayah 47. The Imam of the time is the true house of God because the recognition or marifa of God is attained through him. The Ismailis, practicing a more esoteric Hajj pilgrimage and dispensing with the requirement to perform the physical Hajj, can be better understood if we recall our first video explaining the Furu al-Din and the Usul al-Din, the branches and roots of faith, respectively. The framework of these principles, as elucidated by the Ismaili Dai Sayyidina Abdul Karim al-Sharastani, emphasizes the changeable nature of the furu, likened to the branches of a tree that can adapt to historical and social circumstances. In contrast, the usul are permanent and unchanging. In this context, the Ismaili Imams, as divinely guided leaders, possess the authority to modify or abrogate certain auxiliaries or branches of the faith, including religious rituals, to address the evolving needs of the time. More recently, and in alignment with the above, Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah Aga Khan III emphasizes the necessity for Islam to retain universality across space and time, urging Muslims to adapt the forms of prayer and fasting to the evolving circumstances of life while preserving the timeless essentials, or usulat, for the enduring fulfillment of Islam's mission. This nuanced understanding underscores that while the usul al-din remain immutable and unchanging, the furu al-din, including ritual practices, serve as vehicles for believers to attain an inner comprehension of the enduring theological truths. The removal of the obligation for Ismailis to perform the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca aligns with this doctrinal flexibility, illustrating the adaptability inherent in their interpretation of Islamic principles, ensuring the essence of faith endures while accommodating the evolving needs of the time. In essence, Ismailis find spiritual fulfillment by acknowledging the living Kaaba within the Imam, offering a distinctive lens through which pilgrimage and divine connection are comprehended. We shall end with a quote from Sayyidina al-Muayyad al-Shirazi, who was an 11th century Ismaili scholar, philosopher, poet, preacher, and theologian of Persian origin who served multiple Fatimid Imam caliphs, ultimately reaching the ranks of Bab al-Abwab and Chief Da'i. "Come, I will show you that which is truly the house of God. Not what you imagine to be the house of God. Is a house of stone more sacred than the chosen guide, Muhammad, who established the house?